Happy Friday and welcome once again to one of the best shows about plastic surgery, health, and beauty. This is Nip Talk. We got a good show for you today. First, are nanodrugs going to be the next cure for cancer? It could be. Also, we're going to talk about some odd medical facts. I'm going to quiz these guys and see what they know. Lastly, what are some non-cosmetic plastic surgeries? Are there even any out there? We're going to talk about them, and it's coming up next.
Live from Lincoln Center in the heart of the Dallas Metroplex, this is Nip Talk, an honest and uncensored show about plastic surgery, health, beauty, and lifestyle, with your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Herman, and your co-host, entrepreneur and social media influencer Sarah Bennett. Now it's time to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of the topics everyone is talking about. It's time for Nip Talk.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Please leave us a like and subscribe, and leave us a comment. We want to know what you want us to talk about. I'm your host, plastic surgeon Dr. Bruce Herman. With me, as always, is Sarah.
Hi.
What's up, Sarah? Travis is in the box, and I think Travis is not going to be able to talk a whole lot today. He's got some mic issues. I think it's just us.
Yeah.
I think he's behind the scenes. He's like the Wizard of Oz, which is really sad because I have like a really cool kind of topic, and I was really
Yeah, you have questions.
I have questions today, and Travis isn't going to get to answer them. He may have to get like a whiteboard and hold up his answers. You got a whiteboard in there? Can you hold it up?
Maybe I could chime in a little bit.
Okay, well, we'll wait. We'll see how it goes. We won't make you talk until then, but you have to chime in for that, maybe.
Got you.
How's everybody? How are you, Sarah? Good this week?
Yeah, awesome.
I'm like pretty pumped up. You know, I'm leaving town next week.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, next week's show is
Italy.
I'm going to Italy. So it's a pretty big trip. It's going to be very interesting because this started out as like a trip with the group that I ride motorcycles with. We ride around Texas, Arkansas, Oklahoma. And over the past couple years, we've been talking about doing a big trip. And so it was planned for us to do a trip down the Amalfi Coast, which I didn't know what the Amalfi Coast was. I think that's a pretty common term, which had just escaped me in my years of life. So the Amalfi Coast is the coastline of Italy that includes the boot and then the heel. Mm-hmm. So there's apparently a road, I guess similar to Highway 1 in California, where the road's right up against the ocean, and there's some amazing little towns, and apparently it's like the best motorcycle ride ever.
Is it just the boys, or is your family going?
So, interestingly enough, so this is where it gets kind of odd. One of the guys that's going is a friend of mine. I've known him for years. He knows my wife, and he said his wife was going to go on the trip. She was going to rent a car and follow the group. And and I felt bad about the trip because my wife's always said she really wants to go to Italy, like she's never been, and I haven't either. I went to Sicily when I was like really little, but I don't really remember it. But I felt bad that I was going to Italy, without her, and I was like, babe, Brad's wife's gonna go. She's gonna rent a car. Come with us. I mean, I'm gonna have the hotel rooms. You can ride in the car if you want to ride a day on the bike. Cool. And so she's like, yeah, actually, I would like to do that. So we booked her tickets, and everything was good, and then I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago, so really close to the trip, the other girl backed out.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And so there was this big kind of discussion of what are we going to do? I mean, the options were she could back out, which of course when we book trips, we book trips. We don't do like refundable, right? We're not paying extra money to maybe back out. That's just not what we do. So it's like, well, I mean, hate to lose the ticket. I mean, it's not the end of the world. I was like, if you want to back out, I get it. You can ride with me on the motorcycle the whole time, and we just make do. I mean, we have to pack light because we're a week on the bike. Or if you want, I'll cancel my motorcycle rental, and we'll rent a convertible together and do it. So she thought about it for a few days, and she's like, you know what? I'm just going to ride with you.
Okay.
So you're going to ride with me for 7 days on a motorcycle, which will be interesting. I've ridden with her before. We haven't done any trips on the bike together, so this will be interesting.
That sounds fun. I mean,
Yeah,
it's fun though.
It's going to be great. Like we're flying
if
in.
you're gonna ride a bike for 7 days, you might as well go to Italy.
Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful, and it's gonna be great. We're flying in a couple days early and spend a couple days in Rome. So we're gonna do all the Rome tourist things, that people do when they go to Rome. So I'm excited about that. And then we're on the bike for 7 days doing the Amalfi Coast, and then we're back to Rome, and then we'll be heading back. So So that's going to be a big trip. But I didn't want to not do a show. So my wife and I are going to do the show there.
Good.
We're going to record some video from the trip and maybe, show some
little
clips from
vlog.
the video. Yeah, like a video blog, and then, maybe just talk about some, I don't know, plastic surgery in Europe or whatever. I mean, it'll be interesting.
Nice.
So, yeah. So that'll be big. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
I'm going
though.
to some festival tomorrow.
You are?
Or
What is
tomorrow. It's something like the Renaissance type.
You going to Scarborough Fair? Get out! Have we ever talked about this?
No.
So-
But I mean, that's why I know what like fairy, the little elf ears are and
So-
stuff, because my friend Cassie is like, she works for me at my store.
Yeah, I know
She's been
Cassie.
yeah, she's been my friend for
For a
I
long
don't
time.
know, forever. And she told me that she wanted me to go with her because she won like tickets or something.
You get out. Are you guys dressing up? You are. What's your
Yeah.
costume?
I mean, it's actually a pink dress from my store, and then I bought some like vintage looking corset
Nice.
from Amazon.
So
Yeah.
we go to Scarborough Fair every year,
Oh, yeah?
and we always dress up. So I always dress up as a wizard. Like I'm like a huge like Lord of the Rings fan, so I have this like pretty slick Gandalf outfit.
Nice.
And so I always dress up as Gandalf, but my wife and the kids always pick different costumes every year. And so it's funny you mention that because Scarborough Fair it only runs a certain number of
Yeah.
weeks, and we're going to be gone for like 2 of them. So yeah, I'm not sure. Well, I guess we're just going to have to go like one of the last weekends.
Yeah. Cassie's really excited about it. She's like, we have to leave by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we can get there when the doors open, and
Well,
we're going to be there all day. And
you-
I was like, what?
You have to be there when the doors open because it's out kind of in the country and it's on a small road and so many people come. Like if you show up like an hour late, you're going to be waiting in line on that road for like an hour. Like you only make that mistake once. Like it's really, really popular.
Yeah.
And so you have to be there early. Otherwise, if you get there early, you can just walk right in. But if you go late, like you're going to be stuck in a line for an hour or more.
I bet.
And it sucks. But the festival's awesome. You haven't been before?
I was hoping that I would have Avery.
Oh, she would love it.
I know she would.
Oh, but you don't have her? Oh
bad.
my gosh, I'm
I
so
might
sorry.
take her like another weekend, just me.
I'll tell you, I'm sure we'll go. We'll meet you guys out there.
Okay, that'd be cool.
It would be fun. Like we go out every year, and my kids are getting older now, but they still love it. The rides are sucky. Like they have
Typical like state fair type.
Not even
state
that
fair,
good.
Like, county fair.
like small county fair rides, but the kids love them, and there's all the food out there, and there's these like pubs sort of, and we like to go and listen to the medieval music players. They sing like funny songs, and the wife and I'll have a drink, and the kids like listen to music, and that's a lot of fun. And there's like lots of stuff to buy and see, and then the costumes are amazing.
Yeah.
Our costumes are like not bad. I mean, not everyone dresses up out there, so
Yeah, mine's going to be pretty simple.
Yeah.
It's going to be a corset from Amazon and probably some type of like
yeah, flowery
something.
wreath around your head or something. Yeah, circlet or something.
Yeah, I don't know what shoes I would wear because I'm sure it's going to be kind of muddy out there. So I might just bring my rain
It's
boots.
only muddy if it's rainy that
It
day.
might be rainy.
Oh, it's gonna be rainy. Well, at least it won't be hot.
It might rain like in the morning.
Yeah. Some days we go out there and it's been really, really hot, because getting into May, like, it does get warm. But do you know what weekend it is? Like, they have, like, specialty weekends. You know which one it is?
Well, I mean, it's this weekend.
Yeah, but do you know, so each week they have, like, some sort of theme. Like,
I don't know.
you don't know. Like, one weekend is pirates, and then one weekend is, I don't know. That's the only one I really remember, to be honest.
I'm sure this one's not pirates. This one's
not
something.
pirates. I mean,
It's
people
like-
wear whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
even if it's pirates, I'm still wearing the Gandalf outfit because, I would like to have a pirate outfit though. And the cool thing, I mean, being a clothes person, I bet you'll really like the shops out there because they have like specialty shops for cosplay or whatever. But they're like, handmade leather, I don't even know what the proper term
Oh,
is.
I'm probably gonna buy like fairy wings and stuff for Avery, like
Oh, yeah.
all the things.
You should take her out there, honestly. I'll let you know when we go. We'll meet you out there. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, Avery's younger than my daughter, but I mean, still, I'm sure they get along.
Yeah, they're both little sassy pants though.
Yeah, that's for sure. So. Well, that's really cool. Well, I want a full report on Scarborough Fair
Yeah.
when we get back, definitely. And yeah, I'll have to give you guys a full report on our trip.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. It's always crazy to leave, because with work and being in solo practice, it's just it's kind of tough to get away. But I mean, you can't just work your whole life. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
enjoy it.
Gotta experience it.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess we'll move on to some topics. So I saw a really interesting topic this past week. I'm always love like science and new research coming out, and not necessarily things about plastic surgery. And this one was about nanodrugs.
Okay.
And this was a study about nanodrugs and their possibility to cure cancers. And so just so you're aware, I mean, nanodrugs is really kind of a nebulous term. A nanodrug is basically a microscopic transporter that carries some molecule that does some action.
Is it like genetically made?
Yes, right. So think of the lines of the COVID vaccine, where it was like an mRNA, vaccine. So in this instance, there's a nanoparticle that holds RNA. And this is where it gets kind of crazy, and I'm interested to hear what you think about it. Maybe Travis, if you can chime in, I don't know. So what this is a nanoparticle that has a piece of RNA that actually affects the DNA of cancer cells. And it's pretty wild stuff. This particular one was looking at ovarian cancer, which I think is a fantastic cancer to look at because historically, ovarian cancer is very aggressive, very lethal, very hard to treat. And so, the fact that they were, it wasn't like they were trying to cure basal cell skin cancer, which is, doesn't really need a cure. I mean, you can just cut it out.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to see that. Ovarian cancer is pretty much undetectable in early stages. And so unfortunately, a lot of times it gets diagnosed when it's pretty advanced. And that's why it has, a worse outcome because the tumor just grows on the ovary and it doesn't really do anything until it gets really, really large. Right. Ovarian cancer is the 8th most common cancer in women, and worldwide there's about 300,000 cases. And so risk factors for that, if you have a family history of ovarian or breast cancer, that's a risk. If you have a personal history of breast cancer, that's a risk. If you're older, it's a disease of older women, obese, smoking, hormone replacement therapy, and then either no pregnancies or having pregnancies later in life. So those are kind of the risk factors for ovarian, just to give a little background on that. So this study was looking at a lipid nanoparticle to carry RNA, and it was an attempt to silence a particular gene in the cancer.
Okay.
And that gene was called CKAP5. Okay. Genes have really weird names.
It sounds all like whenever you say nano, I'm like robots.
So like a nanobot, right? I think that too. I was like, wait,
like
nanobots?
I think of some type of
like it's a little mini robot going in there and cutting out the cancer.
Yeah, like a doctor with like a syringe, just like
right,
shoots you.
Well, I mean, it is a syringe, yeah. I mean,
yeah, like a nano, like little bitty baby like robots, just like
out there doing
cleaning your blood, getting rid of all of the
cleaning out your arteries.
Yeah,
it was funny you mentioned that because I saw someone talking. I can't remember if it was on Twitter or what, and they were talking about how they believe that in 8 years that I want to say it was nanobots, were going to cure all diseases, and that diseases are going to be a thing of the past. And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I believe that. I mean, there's definitely some pretty amazing technology coming down the pipe, but yeah, nanobots, no. So these are nanoparticles.
But they're
yeah, all it is just a very, very tiny molecule that carries the RNA. I mean, compared to, I guess, other vaccines, they're really, really small.
And they're just naturally programmed to get rid of a certain part of
Well, it's all genetic. So what this one does is the RNA that's in this particular nanoparticle gets into the DNA of the ovarian cancer and it silences that CKAP5 gene.
Okay.
And what that gene does is it is responsible for the tumor growth.
Okay.
And so that's how it works. It goes into the tumor. It changes the DNA and it shuts down the regulator of how much it grows. And it's that's pretty advanced stuff. I mean, most therapies these days are, revolve around killing things directly, like something toxic gets on the cancer and kills it, or you use radiation, or you cut it out. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a very kind of slick way to get rid of a cancer in that you're basically telling the cancer to kill itself, for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, stop. It's just
it's
telling
stop growing.
Stop growing.
Yeah. And
but
so,
does it die or does it just stay?
So, I mean, according to this study, it showed an 80% survival rate at a certain time, which for ovarian cancer, that's extremely high. I mean, that's considered, almost curative. Now the thing is that there's good things and bad things about this study. One, this was an animal model study. So they were looking at like mice with ovarian cancer. I think it was mice. I can't remember exactly what animal it was. But the bottom line is the animal study. So, you know, what that means is that it's pretty far away from like coming to market. You know, it's not like, okay, this study came out and we're going to see this drug in a month or two.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to have to probably do another round of studies. Then they have to like set up for human trials. I mean, you're probably talking years of time until this thing becomes, you know, a potential treatment that you can go to your hospital or your doctor and get. But
is it something that you'd have to like get in time, like at a certain point, like if you have like a certain stage of cancer, they're like,
so
no,
here's the
you can't
interesting
do
thing
this.
is they were looking at very aggressive ovarian cancers.
Okay.
You know, in fact, they were looking at certain variants that are like the most aggressive.
Because it's so hard to I guess for people to realize that they actually do have ovarian cancer.
Right.
So they were just like,
Yeah, they were looking at not only cancers that were advanced in time, but also in their biology. Because you know, when you take out a cancer, you send off pathology, and there's certain markers they look at, and those markers tell if the cancer is more or less aggressive. So like, you know, one that I see all the time, I do skin cancers, and so like a squamous cell carcinoma that's poorly differentiated would indicate that it's much more aggressive than like a well differentiated. And that's just talking about like the cellular structure of it. But it is a marker for how aggressive it is. And so they were looking at a very aggressive ovarian cancer, you know, late stage. And when they gave this nano drug to the animals, they had an 80% survival rate at a certain time frame. And, you know, that's pretty amazing, you know, to the point that, you know, I would say it's kind of a groundbreaking thing. It definitely is something where it's going to need more time, you know. I mean, as I said, this is not something that's going to come out and, you know, be a potential cure next month. But, you know, given the very positive results of the study, I mean, I think it's something that's going to continue to pick up steam.
sounds promising.
It does, and, you know, I mean, that's ultimately the goal, right? I mean, you develop a shot that someone takes and their cancer goes away. I mean, being a surgeon, you know, it sounds weird that I'm advocating for, you know, the demise of surgery, but I mean, I would love to see, you know, where surgeons aren't having to cut out tumors, that you're getting the same results from taking a shot. I mean, obviously that would be a better outcome for patients, you know, because surgery does have risks and it has recovery. And
Sometimes it doesn't always work.
and it doesn't always work. And so if you can get equal results from like a non-surgical method, I mean, I think that that's good. But, you know, the one thing I would say about this, and this is kind of where the discussion comes up, is, you know, how do you feel about taking a medication that literally alters your DNA? I mean, that was like a big talk with the COVID vaccine. You know, people back in the COVID vaccine hysteria times when everyone was like, oh, COVID vaccines are, you know, killing everyone. People would talk about, oh, they literally would ask me, like, why are you taking a drug that alters your DNA? Because they saw that it was an mRNA, you know, generated vaccine. And they're like, oh, well, that's going to change your DNA. Well, it really doesn't. I mean, the mRNA was just a carrier for the particle that your body makes antibodies to. But this literally is changing your DNA.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the concern I would have is, what if it changes some other part of your DNA that has a bad outcome? I mean, it could theoretically flip off the switch in your cells that actually inhibits cancer, because, you know, in our bodies we have tumor suppressor genes that know when cells get out of whack and then they kill them. And cancer is when something happens to where that gene is not able to suppress it. And then, you know, because in our bodies constantly we have cells that are going out of whack, like they're either old cells or they just are mutated cells. And the reason we're not eat up with cancer is because our body has its own kind of regulation,
Yeah.
right? So I don't know, how do you feel about that? I mean, you're taking something that's altering your DNA. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if it's gonna save your life, I guess I don't really care. But
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, I mean, bottom line,
if you
no
have
BS.
cancer, you're like,
You're right.
I'm gonna try anything.
Exactly. And that's how I kind of,
I mean, if you want to live.
that's how I kind of feel about it too, is, you know, on the surface of it, taking something that's going to alter my DNA sounds like a really bad idea. But on the other hand, if I'm going to be dead in 6 months,
You could become Spider-Man.
you could become the Incredible Hulk or Spider-Man. That's right. I mean, you know, and it brings up like an interesting question, you know, with this gene therapy getting so good. I mean, what's the next step? Like, you take a shot and suddenly you're super strong? Or, I mean, I don't think that is too far down the line here. I mean, the fact that they can, make this, mRNA that or RNA that alters your genetics to the point that your cancer dies. I mean, what's? It sounds like that limit is kind of released, right? If they can do that, why can't they do other stuff?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. If they can get that effective, they can start
I mean,
investing all your genes.
It's such a wild time we live in, with the whole AI talk. I mean, man, you can't turn on the TV now without hearing about AI. I mean, we were kind of like on the forefront of that, talking about it early on.
Yeah, I take Avery to this gymnastics gym in Denton, and there's this lady, I guess, is a professor at a college. She might be at like UNT or TWU.
Okay.
And her and this guy are always talking about ChatGPT.
Really?
Yeah, and I just like want to talk to them about it, but she sounds very like scientific when she talks about it, and so does the guy. So I'm like,
you should jump in. Like, I mean, you know about it. We talk about it all the time.
I know, but they're just like always talking about the outcomes of like what this could mean for the world.
I think everyone's talking
blah.
about. Well, I mean, not everyone. A lot of people are talking about that. I've always, or not always. I've been saying recently that AI is the biggest thing since the internet. It's a groundbreaker, and a lot of people I know are using it now, like in their daily lives. I mean, we're making menus out of it and recipes. I mean, sky's the limit. But speaking to that, I mean,
yeah, you can.
Excuse me.
You can tell ChatGPT like, I weigh 100 and something pounds. I want to lose this amount of weight, and I want to follow this diet. Give me, what should I be eating? And it'll tell you.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Oh, it got you again.
Excuse me, sorry, Travis. Getting all choked up at Sarah's.
It's because
Tell them the story, Sarah.
It's because of Chat GPT.
Story about ChatGPT.
Yeah, you get all choked
No, I
up.
think I'm okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Had some allergies for the past week. Okay,
Went down the
well,
road
I mean,
too.
this gene therapy, I think, has that potential as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty crazy. All right, moving on. I like fun topics. We haven't done a fun topic in a lot of time. We're doing like really serious topics lately. I mean, so I was going to lighten it up. And Travis, I hope you can weigh in here.
I'll try.
Okay. Because I always like to pull up like fun facts about medicine and whatnot. So I was going to pull up some fun facts. These are fun facts about the human body.
Okay.
Right? And so, listen, don't be, alarmed about these questions, because I didn't know the answers to 99% of these. So, like, don't feel bad if you don't get them right. Because I mean, one of us has to have the answers, so I have the answers, and that doesn't mean that...
On your note card.
Yeah, I have my note cards. It doesn't mean that I knew these things either, so...
Okay.
But I think these are pretty fun. Okay, so... Oh, you can go first, Sarah. How many different scents can the human nose detect?
Shoot.
Think big. I'm going to give you a hint. Think big.
1 million.
Oh, that's a good number. Travis?
500,000.
So Sarah's going to be closer. It's 1 trillion. Trillion? I didn't even know that. I would have never said a trillion.
A trillion?
I would have probably guessed.
We're so sophisticated.
Well, and it really,
Our brain.
that, and actually, when I saw that number, I didn't believe it, so I had to go look it up, and it is accurate based on some research articles I read. What's interesting is how little of our sense of smell we use. I mean, it's obviously very, very, distinct, but really it's a sense that we don't use that often.
Well, I guess at one point we needed it for survival, and now we don't.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean,
I always think about those movies where I guess the main character is using 100% of their brain or 80% of their brain, because we don't use but a certain percentage of it. So I always really pay attention to those movies where that's the
I'm
plot.
I wonder what we're capable of.
Yeah, facts.
If we could just.
Did you guys see that movie Limitless with?
Yes.
Did you see
Was it Bradley Cooper?
Yeah, that's it, Bradley Cooper.
Yeah, Bradley Cooper.
Dude, I love that movie. I
It's
thought
a
it was
good movie.
so
I haven't
good.
seen it in a very long time.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
I always
But yeah,
wonder if we can
I do
float.
love some Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper's a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
I can appreciate a good-looking man, and Bradley Cooper is a very good-looking man.
You do be doing that.
All right, moving on. So this is kind of an odd one. The average human body has enough fat to make how many bars of soap?
10.
Ooh, that's a good guess. Travis?
50.
The answer is 7.
Dang.
Sarah, 2 for 2. All right. Yeah, that's interesting. You guys ever watch that movie, Fight Club. Remember Fight Club? The guy was stealing the liposuction out of the plastic surgery trash to make soap. You remember that? Travis, did you see Fight Club?
I remember the movie. I never saw it.
I haven't seen it.
That's a classic. I love that movie.
Brad Pitt.
If anyone haven't watched Fight Club, Brad Pitt and Edward Norton, it's a great one. But yeah, so in that movie, I mean, just like on a side note of that movie, this guy was stealing the fat from plastic surgery offices out of their hazardous waste cans and making soap out of it.
Gross.
That was funny. Okay, here's talking about the human brain, Sarah. How much information can the human brain hold? Now, this is going to be in megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes. So like think on computers. Do you know computers? This may be a hard one. I mean, I should not say that. Are you computer
No.
tech savvy? Okay.
No.
Travis, you're computer tech savvy, right?
When it comes to like megabytes, I always think of like MP3 players
Okay.
from back in the day. Like
right.
16 gig, 8 gig,
Right,
4
okay.
gigs,
So how much can the human brain hold if it was a hard drive?
32 gigabytes.
Okay.
If not, I could always add them.
What's the biggest?
Like how we had
Like maybe 64.
Oh, well,
or
it
like,
goes up to, I don't even know.
No, what's the biggest, like, is it, are
So
we talking
megabytes, gigabytes, terabytes, petabytes. I don't know what's after petabytes.
I know a terabyte is pretty big too. Like that's
Yeah,
a lot
what
of
I was gonna
information.
say, 'cause I
Terabyte.
know what a terabyte is.
All right, so the answer is 2,500 terabytes.
I was
So
close.
that's 2.5 million.
Again.
I was not close.
2.5 million gigabytes. That's crazy. I didn't think it would be that much. I mean, a petabyte, I mean, it's 2.5 petabytes or 2,500 terabytes. I mean, that's an enormous amount of data. Because when you think about data, you know, a terabyte of data is an enormous amount of data. I mean, that's insane. And our bodies can hold 25, or our brains can hold 2,500 of those. It all goes back to what you're saying about, I feel like our brains are just like on, you know, if our brains had a level from 1 to 10, we're like on like 1.5, I think.
Yeah, they need to make something, they need to like.
Like a
invent-
limitless drug?
Yeah,
I agree.
Facts.
they need to invent it.
Okay, this one's kind of funny.
They probably will with that nano thing. Like, this is, we're
That's
gonna
what I'm
give you a
talking about.
shot and it's going to turn
And
on.
turn on all your brain.
Yeah.
But would you sign up for that? I think Elon Musk is, you know, Elon Musk has a company, I forgot the name of it, but it has something to do with implants in your body. Do you know that one, Travis?
I don't know the name
It's
of
not
it.
his like most famous, obviously SpaceX and
Starlink. or-
Tesla and Starlink are his big things, but he does have an implant company, and I don't know a whole lot about it. He doesn't talk about it as much, but that might be what
He's
they're working.
probably like, he's like, because when it comes out, I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to make another company and more companies.
I know, man.
Make-
That guy,
keep making
that guy
more
makes
money.
more companies. I know.
I
All
think
right.
it's called Neuralink.
This one, Neuralink. That's
Yeah,
right.
Neuralink.
Yeah, Neuralink. Excellent work. Okay, this one is kind of funny. So the average person will produce how much flatulence? That's farts. Enough.
Yes.
How much farts to fill how many party balloons over their lifetime? So like the average person, if you collected all their farts, how many party balloons could you fill?
I don't know, like 1 million.
That'd be a lot. Travis?
I think I could bring in
Um,
post production.
50,000.
So then that
Okay. You guys must fart a lot. It's actually it's actually 2,000. And then when I was working on this, one of my friends was talking to me. He's like, "Well, how many people would it take to fill up a Zeppelin with farts?" Which is the weirdest thing I've ever been asked, I think.
What the heck is
What is a Zeppelin? Yeah.
A Zeppelin? Oh, like a blimp.
Oh,
Like the Hindenburg.
okay.
Sorry, yeah, Zeppelin. Like the blimps.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
know
good
what that, yeah.
Okay. So
Just never heard of it.
I feel like that might be the oddest question I've ever been asked, but I wanted to provide an answer. So a Zeppelin is big, really big. So it would take 15,000 people farting their entire lifetime to fill up a Zeppelin.
Oh God.
And I'm not sure it would fly. I don't know. He asked me, and so I was like, well, I can answer that for you.
It'd be a
I'm
warm
a
flight.
wealth of completely useless information. All right.
About farts.
About
Very
farts,
good
right.
to know.
How much saliva does a person create in a lifetime in gallons?
Gross.
I know, right? It's just gross to think
Like,
about.
where were you just sitting around thinking of these questions at, Dr. Herman?
You know, there's just a wealth of information out there, and I was just looking through interesting medical facts about the human body, and
Oh, God.
people love this stuff, you know? Like, you post this stuff.
So how much saliva do you
Yeah, in
make?
gallons, in a lifetime. Travis, why don't you go first?
100 gallons.
100.
1,000 gallons.
You're closer, 6,000.
Ah, dang.
That's a lot. That's like a small swimming pool.
Facts.
Gross.
I just grossed out Sarah.
Small.
Okay, this one's kind of fun. If you took all the iron in your body and turned it into an object, what object would it be most the size of? So I'm gonna give you 4 objects.
Okay.
This is if you took. So we know we have iron in our blood,
Yeah.
right? So we took all that. Would it be the size of a paper clip, a key, a fork, or a padlock? This is multiple choice.
Fork.
Fork. It's a good guess.
I was gonna say a baseball, but I say a padlock.
Okay, so it's actually a key. So it's 3 to 4 grams.
Did you even say baseball at the?
No. I thought we were like coming up with the object.
Oh, I like that guess, man. It's creative.
I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not
Here?
necessarily the right answer, but it was an answer, and I appreciate your input.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of sports related, which I appreciate as well. So
Absolutely.
well done, but key.
A key.
Yeah, a
Like
key.
a car key.
Like a smaller key. Well, I don't know.
Like a key to your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a key to your heart.
Oh, Travis, man. I know we have you on here for good
How?
reason.
Just kidding.
So how many cells did the body produce every second? You know, our bodies are constantly turning over our cells, right? Constantly. And we have tons of cells in our body. So how many cells every second does our body create?
Every second.
Think of a big number.
Millions, I'm
That's
sure.
pretty good. You can go with millions.
10 million.
Okay. Travis?
5 million.
You guys are pretty close. 2.5 million.
I was gonna say 2 million.
Which means that in our lifetime, our body produces 10 trillion cells.
Dang.
That's insane. If you took all the blood vessels in your body and stretched them out into one line, how many miles would it be? How many miles of blood vessels do we have? This one blew my mind. But it makes sense when you think
2
about it.
miles.
2 miles? Charles?
I would say it's a high number. I'd say like 75.
How about 60,000?
Dang.
And so at first you're like, there's no way that's right. But when you start counting the capillaries, which are just microscopic, like we have an insane amount of capillaries in our body.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the blood vessel wouldn't be very large around, but 60,000 miles.
Dang.
All right, this is the last 2 are about the body, and they're kind of plastic surgery related, and I found these hilarious because they're related questions. What is the size of the average breast in the United States?
Ooh, I like this question.
All right, Charles, go first.
I don't know like what the
So number and cup size.
right. All I know is like B D A Z triple Z.
Z, woo.
Something like that.
Who you been hanging out with?
No, we just literally had this conversation the other day over here.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think most women might have like a 36C.
This is like, and this is unfair as well, but I'll say a 38B.
Okay. I was way off on this one. So the answer in the United States, the average breast size is 34 double D.
Dang, I was gonna say
And
double D.
the reason for that, I think, is because in the United States, at least at this point in time, we have a large number of people who are overweight. Well, where does weight go when you're overweight? And if you're female, it goes in your breasts. And so, like, at first I was like, what? That can't be right. But actually, you know, now that you think about it, if you look at the percentage of people who are overweight, I mean, it's believable. So 34 double D, that's according to the International Journal of Fashion Design, Technology, and Education, who actually did a study on this. Glad to know that. So I got to thinking, well, okay, maybe that's skewed because people are overweight. What would be the average size of breast in a country like Japan, which has an extremely low level of people being overweight?
A 34B.
Travis?
I'll say a 34A.
So you guys are right on point. It's 32B. That's the average size.
That's like what I was when I was like
Yeah.
an adolescent.
Well, when I think, you know, and so that when that question popped up, I was thinking, okay, what's the average size of people that I do breast augmentations on? Well, the average size is a B cup. But then on the other hand, I was like, well, duh, I do a lot of breast reductions as well. And so that, you know, the average breast reduction might start at like a triple D or E or F. And so you have to like even all that out. And when you do, it comes out to double D. So you guys did good. You guys were pretty close on a lot of those.
Yeah, I think I did better than I usually do.
No, you were good. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you participating. And honestly, if you guys had asked me, I would have been. These questions are just so esoteric that, I mean, I probably could never come up with
Yeah,
the right
like
answer.
there's no reason.
Yeah, I mean, there's no
to
reason to
that.
know how many miles of blood vessels you have in you, but now you do. So, all right, moving on. I came up with this topic because every once in a while I have people, say to me, well, all you do is cosmetic surgery, or all plastic surgeons do is cosmetic surgery, and that's absolutely not true. I will say, being totally honest, that my practice has trended towards cosmetic as my career has gone on, and I'm going to talk about the reasons why that is. But I did want to talk about all of the potential non-cosmetic plastic surgeries that there are out there, and that's me about to do one. And I think a lot of people don't realize how broad plastic surgery is. And so I want to talk about what all plastic surgeons do, and also why people may or may not do the things they do in their practice. So of course there's reconstruction. We talk about that a lot. There's breast reconstruction. I do a little bit of that. In my career at one point, I did an insane amount of that.
Yeah.
There is wound reconstruction, which I do a lot of that now, working at the Horizon Medical Center. There's trauma reconstruction, so I still do that as well. A lot of facial injuries because, as plastic surgeons, we're expected to get the best outcomes for closures, and so when children get injured or young people get injured in the face, a lot of times we're called in to close that, even if it's something that the average doctor might be able to close. They rely on us to get a higher level of result. Burns. I did tons of burn surgery when I was younger. I did 5 years of burn surgery in Kentucky and 2 in Tennessee. It's interesting stuff. Maybe not my favorite thing to do because it's sad. A lot of really badly burned people that have very drawn out recoveries. And of course, people do die in that. And so definitely not as chipper as some of the things I do these days.
Yeah.
But it is something that I did a lot of in the past. Pediatric issues, a lot of people don't think about that, but cleft lips and cleft palates, which are
I was just about to ask about that.
yeah, very prevalent. Also craniosynostosis, which is when the skull fuses abnormally. I don't know if you've ever seen, the medical oddities picture of the kid with a weird shaped head. That's generally due to the suture lines of the skull closing too soon,
Yeah.
and then the skull can't expand, and actually can cause children, severe problems. So. Both of those cleft lip, cleft palate, and craniosynostosis surgeries would be done by craniofacial surgeons. I fellowship. So with plastic surgeons, you can just be a general plastic surgeon, totally fine, do a little bit of everything, or you can be a specialist. I did a fellowship in cosmetic breast and body. There are fellowships in craniofacial, and so although I could do a cleft lip or cleft palate if somebody forced me to do that. I don't, because there are specialists out there that do them, and of course the way the referral patterns go, they generally get referred by pediatric hospitals, and they have people on staff to do them. But that is a side of plastic surgery that a lot of people don't realize that's out there. Skin cancers, and facial lesions and skin lesions on the face. I do a lot of that stuff. People get skin cancers on the nose, and it's actually kind of tricky to remove a cancer on the nose and close it up and make people look normal. But that's definitely something that's in our arsenal to do. And I kind of like those cases. They're ones that make you think, and that's one of the reasons I really like plastic surgery in general. Is it's a lot of thinking. With general surgery, you make your diagnosis, and okay, surgery's step 1, step 2, step 3. Plastics, there might be multiple different answers.
Yeah.
So I like that. So non-cancer breast issues, breast reductions would be the big one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, breast reductions have gone these days to being a cosmetic surgery, not because plastic surgeons are insisting upon it, but just because the insurance won't cover them anymore, which is sad. I built my practice doing breast reductions kind of a little before I started really doing a lot of the breast reconstruction. And, it's something that really helps patients, and it's sad that the insurance companies have kind of cut that out.
Yeah, I feel like that would be something like a preventative measure, almost for like back problems.
You would think that, but
Mental health.
insurance companies would disagree with you. Some of them say that they still will cover it, but in reality, it's got to the point where it's pretty much impossible. They put such heavy restrictions on what you have to do to get it covered that most
And it
patients.
impedes with a lot of stuff. We've talked
totally.
about it before.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, exercise, your mental health, and then obviously, your back.
Yeah.
But-
There's a lot of things that pop up when the breasts are too large. So, hand surgery. Not a lot of people realize that hand surgery is a part of plastics, and I still do a lot of I say a lot. I take call at the trauma hospital for hand. When I first came into the area, there wasn't a hand surgeon, so I actually did a lot of elective hand, like carpal tunnels and trigger fingers, things like that. And occasionally I'll get those, but now that there's dedicated hand surgeons in town, I don't as much, which, I mean, it's fine. I like the cases, but, you know, it's not that I can't do without them. And lastly would be gender transition surgeries, a newer thing.
Yep.
That is definitely, I mean, there's some cosmetic related to that because you want to get an outcome that's aesthetically pleasing, but it's not the typical cosmetic surgery, you know, that most plastic surgeons are doing.
Right.
And not all plastic surgeons do it. I mean, some people have, you know, moral, I guess, objections to it. I do them for adults. I just do the top parts. I don't do the bottom. But there are a lot of things out there that are insurance-based and non-cosmetic that plastic surgeons can do. You do tend to see a trend of plastic surgeons going towards cosmetic, and so it's like, well, why is that? I mean, it's multifactorial. I mean, I hate to say it, but a lot of it does boil down to money. You know, I've seen in the 13 years I've been in practice that the reimbursements from insurance have just shrank tremendously. Which, I mean, you're a business owner, right? So how do you run a business when your overhead goes up every year, but your income goes down? I mean, eventually you get to a point where it's just non-sustainable. And I think that's why a lot of private practice guys like myself really rely heavy on the cosmetic. Now, if you work for a university and you're drawing a salary for them, then it's a wash, because at the end of the day, the university just wants you to provide services. And they're not necessarily concerned if you make as much money as your salary make as much an insurance reimburses your salary is, because you're doing other things. You're writing papers, you're training residents, and so your job is considered to be more multifactorial. Well, for private guys, I mean, it's not the case. I mean, you know, we make what we collect. And so it's pretty sad, honestly, because it does affect the number of surgeons willing to do those things. And there are things I've had to cut out because I just physically can't do them and make enough money to pay my overhead. You know, I was mentioning the other day on this show that, you know, at this point in my practice, at least as far as income goes, like over 90% is from like cosmetic stuff, which is crazy because my time spent is probably 50-50, you know. Although I do a lot of cosmetic surgery, I still do insurance, and that takes up a lot of time, but the amount of money I get for it is a fraction of what I get for the other stuff. Yeah, it's really a bummer. You know, dealing with insurance is another one. I mean, there's a lot of resources that going into dealing with insurance and fighting to get cases covered, and, you know, fighting when they don't want to pay. And so, you know, I get it. Like, it wears you out, and I can see how a lot of surgeons would, you know, not want to, you know, be involved with that. You know, there's also the fact that these surgeries do carry higher risks and more complications. I mean, to be frank, like cosmetic surgery is generally fairly easy. I mean, there's an artistic side to it, which can be very hard for some people, but if you have that artistic ability to, you know, create something that's aesthetically pleasing, the actual surgeries themselves are not ones that carry high complication rates, provided that you're not doing wild stuff.
And you're not like from Florida or something.
Right, yeah, you're not in Florida doing 15 surgeries at once.
Trying to kill somebody.
On somebody under local. Yeah, we've talked about that. But yeah, I just, I think it's an interesting topic because a lot of people, you know, see plastic surgeon, they think, oh, all they do is like breast augmentation, liposuction. And, you know, there are people out there like that. And truth be told, I do a lot of that stuff. But I still do quite a bit of like non-cosmetic stuff. But it's just sad how little it pays. You know, I mean, I really couldn't do any more of it because, you know, at the end of the day, I have to make X amount of money to keep my business open. And
very true.
You know, I mean, you know.
I mean, it's kind of similar situation, but like, I'd love to sell plus size clothing in my store, but I can't because it literally will just stay in my store for too long. And so I decided that I just can't have it because it doesn't make sense. As
a business owner, you gravitate towards things that are going to keep your business running. Right? And
I want to do everything for everybody, but
Sarah, I got a campaign. You got to throw a couple shirts in there for the big boys. I'm just saying, man.
I have had some that are like, I think all that I carry for guys is up to like 2XL.
All right, we'll take it. Okay. We'll take it.
That covers like what, 90% of people, I'm sure.
Absolutely. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Good. Anyway, I think that's about it. If you like today's show, please leave us a like. Please leave us a subscription. Leave us a comment. We want to hear what you want to hear about, and we'd love to talk about it. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week from Italy. Sarah won't be there, but I'll be there. And we'll see you next week on Myth Talk. Thank you so much.